passed out in the middle of the road. We will find these people half naked in the middle of the road. I mean, it just totally blows their mind, and to the point that they have no function of what they're doing or where they're at. It's really scary, and so we're seeing that starting to develop here in our community over the last month and a half.
Okay, thank you. Angelique, how did your life with addiction begin?
Well, my life with addiction began, I was a young girl, about 12 or 13. I think the biggest part was I lacked consistency and I lacked supervision. I kind of just did whatever I could get away with, and no one really checked up on what I was really doing. So just hanging out with people way older than me and doing a bunch of stuff I shouldn't have been doing. By the time I was 16, I was using Oxycontin and meth on a daily basis. That progressed into becoming an adult and still living recklessly. Going in and out of jail, I'd get out and the cycle would just start over again. I'd be clean a month or 2 or 3, and then I'd be back in jail again, or a violation or new charges. And I just really didn't have any sense of direction. I was just on a destructive path, and I know at one point, close to when I went to jail for the last time and got sober, I just remember like I was using and I couldn't stand myself. I wanted to stop and I couldn't stop. I just kept going through the motions physically, and I was broken. I was tired. I was judged. I felt judged by everyone in my life around me, and I think going to jail that last time, it really saved me. I had a moment of clarity. Thank goodness for ladies like Debbie coming into the jail and meeting us right where we're at and just plugging us into resources. That's one of the most important things, is having support and resources, in that journey to recovery. By the grace of God, I'm here today, and I'm on the panel, and I'm ready to really see change happen and help change happen.
Thank you. Thank you. Sheriff Stockton, what is the percentage of people in jail that have been arrested for any kind of substance use?
I had my assistant and my primary jail commander do some research, and I don't know the look-back period, but I think it's safe to say it doesn't matter if it was 6 months, a year, or 6 years. Their estimation is 85% of people incarcerated have a direct link or nexus to substance abuse.
Okay. Thank you. Rick Deere, how has your addiction affected your life?
Well, the bad side of it, okay, I got fired from a really good job. I was separated from my wife for a year. We were one day away from a divorce. I spread my dysfunctionality amongst my kids, and I believe that's insanity. I remember being on this side of it. One of the coolest things about recovery is I wake up every morning sane, and man, I like that. So the good side of it, my addiction caused me to seek a meaningful relationship with God. That's been really cool. He stepped up. It caused me to want to share my peace and joy with people around me. It's taught me how to try to do life with people. I spent today with a recovering meth user, and we do an exchange, because I believe in an exchange, but I just want to do life with him. I want to live out recovery so that he can see how to deal with shame and guilt, and how to deal with the coping skills that I had. My alcohol was a coping skill, okay, and that how to implement different coping skills that are positive, and get rid of your shame and your guilt. Okay, in the recovery groups, I'm not an alcoholic. Okay, I'm not. I'm a really cool person who happened to have suffered or been a part of or my dysfunction was alcoholism. And I like that, you know, especially on this side. So it, I guess that's what it's done to me. My wife and I are still married. My relationships with my kids are awesome. Probably the daughter, we have 5 kids. My last daughter, the youngest one, was probably who I hurt the most in my dysfunction. And I can say that our relationship is put back together probably better than it ever has been. I mean, way above, way cool, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Danielle, why, I worded this wrong. How did your interest in becoming a clinical therapist become?
Ever since I was 9 years old, I wanted to be a therapist. I had my own experience, so I really relate with Erin a lot with her story. I don't know if I'm ready to share my story because I feel like I'm still in the throes of it with my sister. She's really she's not at the place where she's ready to get help, so, sorry. You can come back to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see. Debbie,
Yes.
why do you think people get addicted to substances like drugs and alcohol?
That sounds like your
It
question.
does?
You want me to follow her?
I do.
No, truly, I believe it's family, it's genetics. And also, you know, after listening to a lot of people in the rooms, in the jail, I really feel that, well, for one thing, I believe alcohol is a drug. And that's my personal belief. I think anything that gets you messed up, it's there. You know, I also believe that, people has a choice when they use drugs the first time, the second time, and I think after that, they have no choice anymore. I think it's over. I think that's when the trap house gets them, and it's on. And I truly don't believe there's no choice left for that addict, you know? And it really makes me just want to cry. I think people use because they've lost their self-worth, mental illnesses, depression, and if they didn't have a mental illness before they started this, and they're on these drugs, they soon develop a mental illness. And that's just what I found true in my life.
Thank you. Stephen, so how do you think groups who deal with Suboxone treatment different from other types of treatment facilities and treatments?
I think where groups is different is there's a lot more accountability to the person who's seeking the treatment. Where at groups, you're required to come once a week for an hour-long therapy session with everybody else that's in there with you. Your pills are counted on a regular, you're drug tested every time. They randomly call you and check on you. There's a therapist with you, there's a doctor with you. You can go to API Clinic. I'm not trying to single out any certain place, but that's just where I came from before I went to groups. You can go to API Clinic where the doctor comes in. How are these working for you? Good? Okay, take care. We'll see you next month. There's a whole month prescription and people just out with Suboxone doing whatever they want, which gives Suboxone a bad rap because people see those people thinking they're selling them or they're just out getting high off of it. Suboxone is used in the situation where people are coming off, basically people aren't going to treatments and stuff, they either don't know about it or they're so scared of the withdrawal, it stops you dead in your tracks and you'll keep hiding and keep doing drugs because anybody that's been through withdrawal knows it's death. It's terrible. It's the worst. But you don't have to go through that. Suboxone is something, it's almost like a crutch. Some people think it's, oh, you're just replacing that methamphetamines with a different drug. Okay, maybe so, but it's a different alternative, and it's regulated. This isn't a 5-year program or 2 years. It's it's strictly 18 months, and you are taking Suboxone to live life normal for a hot minute. You spent 10 years running and gunning on dope and pills. You don't know how to live life normally. You can't even keep a job. So Suboxone is to train your brain how to live like a normal person. You guys have no idea how you take normalcy for granted. It's ridiculous. And it's strictly to get you through that time, get you back into life, get a job, get an apartment, get out of your mom's house in my case. You're 35, it's about that time. And it's strictly just to help you get back into the swing of things of being normal, living like a normal person, giving back to society, being, something to your community besides just another punk. And then you taper down off of it and come off of it easily. It's not a methadone clinic or it's nothing. And it's not a quick fix, and it's something you got to be committed to. And the people there are serious, and the therapists are awesome. And it's just a way to, people that think I'm going to keep doing drugs forever, because they don't know of any other way. And groups allows you, they give you all the tools you need to go out back on life. And that's why I represent for them the best I can. And I know that I'm not going to be on it, forever, and I'm okay with that, and I'm ready to just keep spreading any message that people don't have to go to Indianapolis. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars. You don't have to hide every day and just worry about the next time you're going to get high because you don't want to deal with everything else. There is places to go, and there are people that are here to help. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Aaron, in your opinion, what do you think we need to do to prevent people from getting addicted to drugs?
Well, lots of things. Ideally, I think when we are born, we should be assigned a doctor, a psychiatrist, a therapist, a peer, and that are going to go with us through each stage of life. But ultimately, I think it's conversation, exposure, conversations, support. We're such a hidden society where we walk around and it's so business-like, we do, how are you, how are things going, and then behind closed doors is where people have a tendency to really struggle. And so, I think it's just important that we just start with the conversations. And I don't necessarily know where or when, but just getting people out in the community willing to take time out of their day just to check on people. I went to the Suicide Prevention Awareness Walk rally on Saturday, and interestingly enough, they were talking about the route and everything, and they said if you see somebody who is by themselves, just make sure and walk with them, make sure that nobody is walking alone. And I was like, well, why can't we? What a great philosophy to go through life and say, me, one person, okay, or you, one person can just hold the hand of somebody else that may be in need. What we could do to kind of empower our community.
That's good. Thank you.
Can I answer my question?
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
that really sparks a lot what, the reason why I got into being a therapist is because of that, having people that were in my life that, showed me a different way from my family of origin, that it wasn't just, family violence and substance abuse, but there were people that, lived in a, quote unquote normal way where there was consistency and stability. And I just naturally had the inclination to be empathetic and to be a listener. I was the friend that everyone came to growing up. I was kind of like a counselor from the very beginning, and just had that natural ability to listen to people and to kind of come alongside them where they're at. And I learned at a young age that that was really my passion in life, is just to, see people as they are and to connect with people. I just had this deep desire to connect with people. And I think when you look at addiction and recovery, there's a lot of disconnect. When you look at addiction, Brendan actually talked about it on Saturday for the Voices of Recovery. He talked about how trauma is a huge part of where addiction starts. And it's hard to disconnect the two. Whether it's you've been neglected in some way, if there's family violence, there's people in your family that use substances, you've had trauma. That part is a huge part of why people start to use substances, because substances are a mood-altering substance, or drugs are a mood-altering substance. So it alters your mood, it alters your reality. It gives you a place to go and to feel loved. The people you use with are like your family in some ways. They accept you, they connect with you. And so when I see that, I see the missing link is connecting to people, seeing people as human beings, seeing them where they are. And I think the last time in January we discussed about, someone's going to talk about harm reduction, I think, maybe it's Brandon, but I won't take that from you. But that was the first time I really understood harm reduction in a different light. And it was helpful for me to understand that meeting people where they are is really essential. And so there's so many components to addiction and to recovery and what resources are needed. Abstinence is a huge part of that. But for those people that are not ready, there are other things to help them to get them to that place. So in a nutshell, from the background, that's why I do what I do.
Thank you. Okay, Brandon, harm reduction, why does it help and what is it?
Well, harm reduction, we look at it. The thing that's fascinating about harm reduction is that we do it every day. All of us do. We get in our cars, we put on our seat belts. It's just all kinds of areas of our life. Parachutes are harm reduction too, right? We jump out of a plane, we don't want to die, so we put a parachute on, and we pull the string and we land softer than we would if we wouldn't put a parachute on, right? That's harm reduction. In this sense, it's a lot of things. When people hear the word, they automatically assume needle exchange, which is true, but there's a lot more that goes on, and she just touched on it. If you look at, I do want to talk about trauma a little bit, right? Most people that are struggling with addiction, most people, I said this at the talk the other day, the question of addiction is never why the addiction, it's why the pain. All addictions begin in pain and end in pain. Most people that started out on this path have, and this is scientific research, it's not something I'm making up or something I'm taking a wild guess at. This has been around since the 90s, it's been replicated all the way up to 2012, these studies, ACEs studies, Adverse Childhood Experiences studies, you can learn them on your own. But what happens is, when she just hit the nail on the head, and I didn't even address this the other day, but when I went through trauma as a child, the trauma wasn't the problem. It was when I disconnected from myself became the problem. And I disconnected with everything around me because I wasn't safe, and I always had to be in protection mode and survival mode. Think about this for 1 second. We have brain chemicals that fire off when we're in trouble. If you see a bear in the woods, brain chemicals start firing off and it's fight or flight, right? You can actually whip a bear. A lot of people have done it, or outran a bear when these chemicals fire off. But imagine being a child or a woman or a male being beaten by your spouse or whatever, and every day that bear's there. And every day those chemicals are firing off. It starts to change the brain structure. It starts to change the way we react to life. So let's fast forward to needle exchanges, because I say this a lot in my talks, is that we look at people going to harm reduction organizations and we judge them. But 5 years earlier, when they were children being removed from their homes, or being sexually traumatized in their homes, or physically abused in their homes, or neglected in their homes, we see them playing outside at 7 o'clock at night, no parents around. We feel sorry for them then, but when they start going to harm reduction organizations, we say, look at that poor SOB. He just don't get it. He just don't want to change. And the problem is that there was never an opportunity to become a normal person. They were never given that shot from the jump. And the rest of them, you can tout it up to in mental illness. So you're either dealing with trauma or mental illness, probably all of it.